I'm gonna go ahead and get started. I don't know. Nick, you'll just let them come in as they come along.
Yeah, as they join in, I'll just let them in.
Okay. I think most of you know who I am. I've been around a little bit, not as long as some of the other people, but I'm the vice president of competitive soccer now. I got to remember to say that, not classic, it's competitive soccer. And also been the D&A chair for the last 5 years, I believe it is. Seems like that. I think that's about right. But I really surprisingly enjoy doing this. It's a lot of what my field is. I've dealt with a lot of arbitration and grievances while I worked with the government. And when they found out that's what I did, they kind of put me in this job right away. But luckily, we don't have a whole lot of appeals and a whole lot of hearings, but we do. We do have a new D&A administrator. Mark Moore retired last year. He's doing fine and enjoying the retired life. But we got Kevin Broadley, who brings another whole approach to D&A because he comes from the referee side. Kevin has actually been calling some MLS games and actually goes Saturday to do a conditioning test to try to get on, I guess, full time, right, Kevin?
That's correct.
Pretty close to it. So he gives us a lot of insights to the referee side, which I think is very beneficial, which I'm kind of excited about. So I'm going to start off by going over some of the things, and then Kevin's going to take over toward the end. And at the end, we'll do a question and answer, and we'll get out of here in an hour, I promise you. Once the hour, Nick will turn the thing off, so we're done. And most of you guys I know, I've seen around. It's get to the state cups, the nationals if you get there, and I've really been involved in this, and this is not anything new to you. But if we go to our first page that Kevin prepared for us, it shows us last season. This is the fall season. The suspensions and everything and red cards were phenomenal. We'll talk a little bit about, we're not sure we got all the red cards last year. We're trying to upgrade the reporting, and we're not sure if everything got in there. But right now, you'll see that the difference when you look at these things is the suspensions. We had 3 spectator suspensions. We had 3 referee suspensions. Oh, y'all gonna drop? Are y'all still with me? They've turned that over to us, and we're in charge of that. And we've had instances that we've had to deal with that. We've had 2 coaches that had red cards, and you can see the reason why. We had 1 hearing last season, and it was on the referee suspensions. The one thing I do want to say that was written in quite a few of the referees' reports that we've been pushing so hard, and was so good to hear, that a lot of the referees wrote in there that the coaches were real helpful when they had a spectator problem, either going over there and telling them to be quiet, calm down, or actually having to go over there and remove a person, a spectator or parent, basically. So I just want to say I really appreciate that, because we're trying our best to keep the referees away from that. I know some of the coaches kind of weren't crazy about that. Some of the associations think it's the right thing, but we just, we need the coaches to continue to do that, help us out in that situation, in which it seems like they are. And so we're very grateful for that. And it's very positive to hear that they're doing that. You can see the red cards by the players. Not really a whole lot there. I'm hoping we got them all. I'm not sure of that, but I would like to believe that's all we had. But most of them you can see, disallowed goals, second cautions, a couple of violent conducts, and really the only time we had a couple of abusive language or actions like that that we had to deal with. So it was, didn't really hear a whole lot from the players, which if I had everybody there, I'd say, hey, if the players can start acting right, and let's make sure adults are starting acting right. And that's a positive. So I'm hoping we continue that, and it does continue as we come into our busier season. I was telling them earlier when I first started doing this, Keith had me do the fall season and we had about 50, 60 red cards the whole season. And then I got in the first week of the spring and I had something like 40 that first week. And so I hope this continues and goes over. And I think this is attributed to the coaches who are coaching the kids. I give them the credit. I also hope it's we're getting some experience out of the referees. I mean, I know we've got a lot of referees out there that just catching on. So that leads us to the next page. And this is going to, Kevin, if I miss anything, just jump in and just beep in there and everything. We sat down, Kevin and I spent a lot of time sitting down, looking at the suspension that we have had for, we don't know, it's at least 2017. I think it's longer than that. But and some of the minimum sit-outs. First of all, I want to say that we really haven't changed any of the game-related situations. You know, when you're talking about denying a goal, second card, even the violent conduct or serious foul play, as long as it's not with the intent to injure somebody. You know, we know somebody goes hard sometimes and we understand that's still, to me, part of the game, as long as we're not doing it intentionally or something. But if you go in here and really look at the comparisons, you are going to see that fighting by a player, okay, this is a fight. This isn't pushing. This isn't, you know, I put two hands in your chest and push you or something. This is fighting, throwing fist. It's gone from 2-game minimum, which was nowhere near what it had to be, to 6-game minimum. You can see fighting between coaches and spectators has gone up to 3 months. Now, I don't think we haven't really had any fighting between coaches. And I think that's not something I really have to worry about. We had a year ago where two spectators, one lady had another lady by the hair and was doing a WWE move and twirling her around her head or something. And so those have gone up and drastically gone up. And the problem is that we're trying to eliminate this issue of getting out there and fighting. Now, like I said, this is not what we're saying as violent conduct and stuff like that. This is where it's a brawl. The other thing we got to remember is we have also added a third person rule in there. So if Kevin and I get in a tussle and we start slinging it to each other, this person that comes from all the way across the field and decides they're going to be the one to solve everything and jumps in there and starts throwing fists. Okay, that's going to be more sit-outs than anybody, probably than the two that got into it. We have got to control this. We have videos that will be sent out to you guys, and y'all have seen them. Y'all been on YouTube and everything, where you see these brawls and fights and people hitting people from behind, and they get on YouTube and whatever else, and that's all we're watching. So we really need to make sure that we understand that we're trying to keep these kids from fighting. And there again, this is a brawl. This is not two people just getting into each other and pushing each other. Okay, this is you balled your fist up and you are fighting. You can see the verbal threats really didn't change that much. They went up 1 game by a player and by coaches and spectators. The referee abuse has gone up. Okay, the referee abuse by a player coach is 6 games. A referee abuse to a minor referee is 8 games. You can look over and see what they were before. The referee assault by a player is 6 months, and a referee assault by a coach or spectator is a year. Referee assault to a minor is 5 years. Racial or discriminatory abuse by a player is the first offense is 8 games. And by a coach or spectator, its first offense is 90 days. These things have gone up quite a bit. We have got to make sure that we are controlling our field. We've got to make sure we're controlling our parents. And I have actually talked to some, and I don't know if any of you guys have actually looked at it, but I have talked to some of the people, and they've got their own club has got things just like this, and some of them even more than this. It's the first time you're gone type of thing that they're making parents sign before their kids allowed to play. I think that's a great idea. I wish we could incorporate that. Because we've got to get them to understand what the penalties are and what they're doing. I know that we all get in games. I've coached all my life for 30 some odd years. I know you get a bad referee. You get a referee that you don't think is calling your way or making bad calls. We just have to learn that they're just like our players. They need time to learn how to referee, just like your players need time out on that field to learn how to play the game. And just like us coaches need to have games to learn how to coach kids. We're short referees. We have this past year had a lot of games I've heard that, well, we're lucky to get 1, 2 referees maybe. Some of you bigger clubs, I don't know if y'all were in better shapes. Of course, me being in the western part of the state, I hear a lot of smaller clubs and what they're going through. But we've really got to make sure. This information has been passed by the executive board. It will be tomorrow. On Saturday, it will be on the actions by the executive board, and you'll see them there, and that's where the members get to vote on it. So that's what we're looking at right now. Does anybody, I'll just stop here because I feel like this is probably where most questions are going to be by anybody, because the rest of it is just numbers and what things we're trying to look to do to continue improving our relationships with coaches, parents, players, D&A, and referees. So anybody got any questions?
Larry, could I make one point before questions? One thing some of you may have already noticed, but we have decreased one of the minimum suspensions, and that is referee assault with regard to a minor referee by a player. As we went through discussions in terms of what are players' actions considered assault from a referee perspective, if someone reaches out and touches my shoulder and it's an action that I'm not expecting, so on and so forth, that is technically referee assault. And so we wanted to make sure that we build in a bit of an understanding in terms of a player potentially reaching out and saying, "Hey, referee, I have a question." And then a referee considering that referee assault and writing that in a report. So I did want to make that that point, as that is something that went down and not up. We moved it from 3 years. The player would be banned for 3 years for reaching out and saying, "Hey, referee," and grabbing an arm, to 6 months. So just wanted to make that quick point. So Larry, back to you.
Okay. Anybody got any questions? Because I'd love to hear them. Nobody? Okay. Go on to the kind of the notes of this changes. I kind of went over a lot of them right there. Some of the things have been changed from time-based to match-based, or match-based to time-based. And just to let you know, when you get a time suspension, okay, we figure that on a calendar that takes 2 months out of the year twice. So say you're playing, somebody gets suspended for 3 months, it's November 1st. So you're thinking, okay, I get to suspend in November, December, and January. I'm back February. No, your suspension is November, then February and March. December and January do not count because we don't do anything. There's no games being played, or most, I mean, some people will be coaching, but so if your suspension says from November 1st to March 1st, if that's right, that's why you say, well, that's 5 months. No, that's the 3 months. Because, or if you did it the same thing at the end of the year in the spring, in June and July are not in there. Or is it July? Yeah, June and July.
Larry, how would that impact high school players who only play, fall or spring? Would it be the next year?
Yes. If it's just players, then yes, it would go into the next year. It would be into their range of what their season is. And so that's, I mean, because it just makes sense. If I'm going to suspend somebody and they're not playing anyway, that's not much of a suspension. So that's when we got into one of these other situations where we had to suspend somebody for 6 months and for a year. We had to let them know that that's a little bit longer than they think it is. And so just to let you know, so nobody's surprised, I usually have to explain that. You can also see some of the things that where the increased suspensions in the categories. Like I said, most of these things are not game playing incidences. These are things that are above and beyond what we should be playing. The violent conduct and violent behavior, the increases are when they are with an intention to do something. A guy makes a hard slide tackle, he's coming in hard, or I mean, my son was a big kid, and he got, the only card he ever got was he went up in the air with a kid. He was a keeper, and of course the other kid was much smaller, and he took him out, and it was a 50-50 ball, but he got the red card because, so in that situation, that's a game related situation, and we understand that. But if you go out there and you come running from 20 yards out and all of a sudden slide in, and referee puts in there, came from 20 yards out, slide in with his cleats up, that's with intent to try to hurt somebody. I do want y'all to know one thing. Y'all can call me. You can see how Southern I am. Y'all can call me when something happens, and I'll listen to you. I mean, I will sit down and listen to you. And a lot of times it's where a coach has said something and I've gone back and, okay, let's ask the referee again. You wrote it this way, but did this happen or this happen? And the referee kind of changes his tune from what he wrote, and it helps us. It's not always the case because, like I said, I coached too. My kids never did anything. I shouldn't say that. A lot of times I didn't think my kids did anything wrong. And I look at it from a different perspective, and I watch my son coach, and he'll come off the field and he'll say something, and, I have him coaching, but I really don't have anything involved, and I'll just see it different than him. And I say, yeah, Brad, that's not, that's not what happened. I mean, and so, but I am always open to hearing anything. I mean, if there's anybody that says I'm not, I would deeply apologize, because not to say I agree with everything, but I'm willing to hear anything y'all got. I don't have any dog in any of these fights. I don't care anything other than trying to get, my thing when I came up is I want to be corrective in action, not punitive in damages. We've even tried a new thing that we did, especially with the younger kids, and it's worked from what we see. A kid gets a sit out of 3 games, and we come up and say, if you make a short presentation to the team about how what you did, it's hurting your team, I'll knock a game off. It's been received well. I mean, you don't have to. If the kid doesn't want to, I'm not telling they have to, so I'm not forcing anything. But what we're hoping to do is we can teach the kids that what they did not only hurt him and having to sit out, but it hurt his team because he's not there available to play. He's not there to help his team win. And so that's some of the things we've done there. So any questions on that one? I just kind of repeated myself on those. Where are we at? The next thing is just some of the things that we're looking to do. We're looking to get emails out to the clubs and organizations with the newest documents, with newest information we can. We want to, if it gets past Saturday, everything goes through, we'll get these suspension charts sent out to all the D&As and to all the clubs, and they'll be able to be pulled on our D&A document webpage. We're also looking to try to, Kevin mainly, is to do some videos that will update the suspension changes or update anything that, that's going on, try to help and get a good rapport with everybody to understand what we're all trying to accomplish here. I don't want any kid to sit out anymore and have to. I really don't. I mean, my kids played and I wanted them to play all the time. And it's not, but soccer is a game that is an incredible game. I never played it. I learned it from my kids. I coached it. I been involved in getting licensed when I was first started because I didn't know and I wanted to know this game. And the kids, it's all about the kids. And sometimes we have parents and coaches, officials, referees, everything that sometimes forget that. And I hope I never do forget that. The other thing we're looking at is trying to get some a D&A video that, like risk management. I know y'all aren't going to like this because it's another video I got to watch, but I promise it would be short. But a video that you would have to watch, this is down the road, this is anytime soon, that you would have to watch and get cleared on when you go to register as a coach, along like the wristband. It won't be nearly as long as a wristband, but something just to make sure you understand what the sit outs, what the suspensions are, what the how the D&A works. We do not, and I hope you see just by looking at the suspension chart, we do not take the referee as the only word of gossip, or gospel, not gossip, gospel. So I hope y'all believe that. I know it's hard because it's the first thing we get. You do have to remember that's the first thing we get. And so that's the first thing I read. And a lot of times it's a simple thing, 2 yellow cards, just allow go, it's nothing, just go and move on. We know what it is. But a lot of times a referee writes something, and like me, I could send an email to you, or you could send me an email and I could send an answer to you, and you'll probably send back and say, well, why are you mad? Because I say, yeah, I got it. I'm just not gonna, I don't get in a bunch of words. So just, we do need to kind of get our relationships with D&A and everything and try to change things. Any questions on anything so far? Y'all been quiet. Sounds like, everybody's sleeping on me. But the rest of it, I'm going to let Kevin take over here, and he's going to go through a little bit here, and then we're going to have some final questions and answering, and then we'll close out for anything. Go ahead,
Okay.
Kevin.
Thank you. Thank you all for joining us this evening. So I joined about 6 months ago, and very excited to participate, be a part of this. And obviously I'm a referee. I'm from the dark side, right? I'm from the referee side. But through this, I think being able to lean on the laws of the game, continue to improve match reporting so that coaches, referee reports are more accurate, and the reporting percentages in terms of what is being reported is being put at the focus, particularly at the moment. So Larry mentioned about some concerns that we have where matches are not being reported through the soccer and college system. through the supplemental report system. So what we have done is worked with Colby on the match reporting system, including the new rosters that everyone is using with the QR codes to make it easier for referees to report the games, get the scores into Soccer in College, get the information into Soccer in College, so then your coaches can plan accordingly throughout the week and for the next weekend or for the next match. We've also included some additional help documents and more defined sections so that we can understand what is more accurately going on with yellow cards, red cards, that kind of thing. This will help us target education towards trends that we're seeing within matches and collect that type of data so that the education that we then put out to both coaches and referees, we can target it towards the trends that we are seeing happen. If we are seeing so many second cautions, that was by far the most significant trend there, then do we have some education points on how to manage players and potentially not get to that second caution for referees? Or do we have some information for coaches on how they can help ensure that their players are not reaching the second caution level, right? It's those type of things where we can try and work with on both fronts, on the referee side as well as the coaching side, to prevent things then coming down to what everyone does not want, including us, which is suspensions, right? That's where we're headed, and that's the focus for addressing the match reports. We are, as of February 1st, we'll be sending out weekly reminders to get those reports in from referees, along with step-by-step guides there. And we started to implement biweekly emails last season. The next bit is what we are doing on the referee and coaching education side. We will have blog posts being put up and links through our website in terms of how we would like to see certain situations being dealt with by referees, or actions that we've seen throughout, and using video and kind of a blog post setup to provide education to coaches as well on how we would like to see them behaving within certain situations, or what they can expect, and that way we have less surprise when we are out on the field. Because oftentimes it's a coach being surprised by a decision, whether it's correct or incorrect, that leads to frustration, that then leads to misconduct and punishment, right? So if we can try to target these things on the field, then hopefully we're not ending up off the field with suspensions, right? And that's the goal here. It's not to say that we are here to educate all the referees, because we are not the referee education department, right? But what we can do is help use the information that we have and the resources that we have within D&A. We have access to you all, to phenomenal resources within the coaching world, the experience that's out there on the coaching side, the experience that's out there on the referee side, and try and mesh those things together a bit better, so it's not two separate worlds all the time. Again, just referee report accuracy. We will be implementing some points of emphasis alongside the referee department, but I think the referee department and their points of emphasis is not always being transmitted to the coaching side. So helping get that to the coaches so they are aware that if you use a curse word you are probably at minimum going to receive a yellow card. That should not be a surprise. But using these points of emphasis and getting them to both sides is kind of, and that way we don't, again, end up in the suspension realm. And then I did send a link with the presentation, and then you can take a look at one of the examples of the blog posts that we're referring to there. So, and then additional clarifications around referee abuse. Obviously, it's a hot button topic. We have the yellow wristband program that we rolled out. We would like to see more involvement with that from referees. But there is also an easy thing, I guess, a bit of confusion if we just flip back to the suspensions here. There is foul, abusive, insulting language or actions, and also referee abuse, and those are two different things, right? And oftentimes we might be receiving reports that it's referee abuse when it wasn't referee abuse, it was foul and abusive language. And so that way, some clarifications around that for referees ensures that we are not heading down a path of referee abuse with very serious suspensions to coaches, to clubs, so on and so forth, so that we are arriving in the realm that we need to be with the highest percentage of accuracy possible. So that's kind of something that we're trying to target with the referee side, and hopefully it will turn into on-field improvements from all sides. So that is that from me. Larry asked me to keep it relatively brief because he knows I can ramble on a bit. So I will open things up for myself, from Larry, for any questions, anything that you've experienced over the year, whatever it might be, feel free to ask. It is an open forum at this point.
Larry and Kevin, just as far as minor referees and we're going to continue with the yellow wristbands.
Yes.
Is there an understanding or requirement that those minor referees wear those wristbands? I know in some matches I've known some kids to be minors, but they're not wearing their wristbands, because I know them just from the job I have working in schools, but I see them sometimes doing that and they're not wearing them. So I didn't know if there was any help on the other end. I know they shouldn't be abused anyway, but I think it would also point out to people, we tell them they're wearing the yellow bands, but sometimes I know that hasn't happened all the time. So just
We've
wanted
given how many, Kevin, to each one? 2 or 3 to each player?
Yeah, every referee was mailed 2 wristbands, from my understanding, by the referee department.
We have not told them they had to. We're hoping that the referee assigners are pushing them. And I mean, that's our big point, is that we've told the referee assigners we need these out there. And so hopefully they are pushing them, but we haven't told them, if you don't, you can't call the game, you know. But anything else? I just want to make sure, I mean, I think one of the biggest things that when we get a match report, we don't just look at, I mean, if it's like I said, if it's just a minor infraction and it's one game, you know, but if it's anything of multiple games, we don't just take that report. We actually go back and ask the referee exactly what happened. And then we'll sometimes even call you guys up and say what happened. And if you get a report that, you know, somebody's sitting out and you think it's more games, and you call me, you know, I can hear your side of it. And I have in the past said, hold it, let me get back with this referee, or let me get the ARs involved in it. Let's make sure that everybody saw this the right way, because I don't want any kids sitting out when it's obviously not a situation that we need to have them sit out. Videos, I don't really, I say I don't look at them because not everybody can have a video. Not everybody's got a video game. If it's something serious, I will, but probably 90% of the time, it either doesn't show what the person thinks it's showing because they're out on the field and they know what everybody is. And I've got this long shot from, 100 yards away trying to tell me who 12 is and who 11 is. And even sometimes they come back and I've had in the past, somebody gave me too much information and it actually showed what the referee said actually happened. So, but I mean, I would say I would not just say, no, I don't send them. I'm not going to look at them because I will look at them, but they won't be my major deciding factor on it unless it's just something obvious, which I did have in one. The referee had the wrong kid because you could see the kid standing beside the sideline and you could see his number. And that wasn't the kid that ran into the melee. So I just want everybody to understand, we're open. I'm open to hear anybody. Y'all have got my phone number. I've had plenty of you call me. It's on any of the reports. I'll give it to you. It doesn't make any difference. I tell people if you call and I don't answer, the best thing is to then send a text and say, hey, I gave you a call. Give me a call when you can, because I'll leave that red dot on my text. Once I see it's from somebody I don't recognize, and that will remind me to go back and actually go to it. Emails, I check them daily. And on this new suspension, I want to hear from you guys. I mean, I want to know whether there's something on there that you just think is not right. I've got till Saturday if there's something that, we've sat and put a lot of time and effort into it. And I know it sounds tough, but if there's something that we haven't thought of and you call me up and say, listen, what if something like this? I mean, we try to think. Kevin thinks of every scenario you could ever imagine, just about, but there could be something that, we just missed and didn't think about. And I want to have your input. And I know right now you probably don't want to talk about it right now, but please call me this week or see me Saturday and let me know. I mean, it's not written, it's written in ink, but we can still change some things. But I just want everybody knowing that what the purpose of this is, trying to do everything we possibly can to prevent some terrible incident happening here in the state of North Carolina.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what we're trying to do. Anybody else with any other questions? I told you I wouldn't keep you an hour.
As I don't hear anyone chiming in with questions at the moment, I will say, if you hear of a red card and you haven't heard from us about a red card, please let us know. It is incredibly important that we know from you and from your colleagues, whether it be your coaches, your directors of coaching, because the coaches who are hiding red cards that don't turn them in, and then we find out 4 weeks later or whatever it is, there can be punishments there that we don't want to get to, so on and so forth. I mean, we want to know what is going on out at the fields. Please let us know. We don't want to run into a situation where we don't know it's being kept from us, whether and then we have to deal with it later. It's messy for everybody. So please, if you hear of a red card that happens, or an instance that happens, it doesn't have to be a red card. If you see someone in an altercation on a field, please let us know. And oftentimes, my last point to this is, it's the things that happen where a red card is not shown that we don't hear about and can be worse than what happens when a red card's shown, right? We all know that there could be an altercation between spectators. A referee doesn't see it, so it's not in a report, but parents, coaches, everybody knows about it except for us because it wasn't reported. Inform us when and if at all possible so that we can help you as clubs and organizations handle those situations. That's incredibly important as well, because those type of things don't end up in referee reports, sometimes because a red card wasn't issued or they didn't see it. So if you see it or you know something that happened, please let us know.
Kevin, can I ask a question?
Sure.
It's more toward the parent side of things, right? Like, what is the threshold for referees to handle unruly parents, right? Like, when is enough enough? I guess, right? Like, I know, like for our club, we have kind of a zero tolerance policy, right? Referees can warn parents once, and if it happens again, see you later, right? Like, how can we try to help referees deal with spectators?
Yeah. So I think something very early on that Larry has mentioned a number of times in our discussions with this, and I wholeheartedly agree. Saying anything opens the door, right? It could be, "Hey, ref, you're having a bad game," and the ref could decide that is enough. It could be cursing at the referee. It could be anything. And it's not to say that one ref that is right or that is wrong, but you are opening the door when you are making comments not in a positive way to the opposing team and to a referee. Particularly because everything that's going out on the news right now is we're losing referees. We don't have enough referees. Look at this referee abuse. Look at this referee assault. This is terrible. And that's what people are seeing, right? That's what's going out on Twitter. And so it's making people, more referees in particular, more and more likely to say, I'm not going to listen to it at the smaller comments. It's not always exactly how I personally might deal with it, but that's kind of where things are, and where we've gotten to because of how things have taken shape around us. And so I think the biggest thing is, if we open the door, we have to be ready for anything in response. It could be a warning. It could be, "Sir, I need you to leave." It could be, "Coach, could you please remind your parents to mind what they're saying to us?" It could be any of those things. And I think it goes back to it's better not to open that door. And so, again, it's different from person to person, because you're going to have a 55-year-old who's done 100 games and maybe they've refereed professional soccer, college soccer, and you're going to have a 14-year-old who on his first day has no idea what the 17 laws are. And they're just learning because they just went out there and they thought it might be a great way to make some spare income, right? Or whatever it is. You have such a wide range of experience, knowledge with conflict resolution. That's where, so I kind of go back to, if we can just remind our parents to please not open that door. But if they do, to expect anything in return, then hopefully they're at least not surprised if they're asked to leave. So I know that's kind of swinging from all spectrums there. But hopefully that answers your question and gives you context to where things are seemingly at the moment on the referee side.
Yeah. No, fair enough. Thank you.
I'm just going to go ahead. We're getting close to closing. If nobody else has any, I just want to close with one thing that happened. Didn't happen last season. It happened the season before. And it made I can never forget it. 14-year-old girl was refereeing a U12 ball game, and a grown man proceeded to tell her she sucked and needed to stay home, and actually used the F word. We asked her, along with her parents, to please try to write something up if she could. She wrote a letter to me, and it started off with the letters apologizing for not replying back to me sooner, but she had homework to do. That was somebody's daughter. And it just eats at me that somebody could sit there, a grown human being, and fuss at somebody over any of our ball games. And so there are people out there that we need to make sure, clubs, we need your help, because we don't always hear, the referee doesn't always hear everything. They don't always report things. We've had young people say they were intimidated to do anything. We're not going to get referees if we don't get the young ones. We're just going to get them retiring, and then we're never going to replace them. So that's what I'm trying to keep from happening in this state of North Carolina. If we don't step outside the box and try to correct things, then we're doing nothing, and we're contributing to being part of what's happening in our society. You coaches know how many parents are out there, their kid's going to play professional or is going to play in college. And you know what you're going, we know what you're going through with the parents. We just got to remember, there's one thing Mark and I did 3 years ago, and we came up with a little slogan for us. And it's been used, I'm a preacher, and I've actually used it in sermons to tell you how far it's gone. But it says, there's no action that justifies a reaction of misconduct. So no matter how bad things are, it doesn't justify us reacting in a negative way. You guys that are coaches, you guys that are leaders of your organizations, there's a lot of responsibility on y'all. You're the ones that are supposed to be leading and showing the way that we're supposed to be acting. We want to play competitive soccer. People, I can't stand losing. I promise you that. No more. You don't hate it any more than I do. I'd come home from games, and after coaching high school, and my wife would say, "Why aren't you as excited about winning as you are as disappointed about losing?" And I can never answer that why, but I want to win, but we've got to be able to do it with respect to everybody out there. And we've got to be able to gain respect from everybody that's out there in the field. You guys are the ones that are leading this organization. You're the ones that are leading North Carolina Youth Soccer Association. So I just want to say thank you for being on here. Saturday, if you're up at Greensboro, please stop and say hi. Call me if you've got anything that we mentioned that you've got a question about, or you've got a better idea, or you've got an idea. We'll take anything. I'm willing to work out of the box as much as we possibly can to try to make sure that we don't have to deal with one of these instances that you see so much. So I just want to thank y'all. And as long as nobody else has anything, I'm going to tell you, have a good week, have a good practice. Hopefully it doesn't rain all your practices out. And hope you get ready for a great season. And I hope everyone has a great one. And that I see you on the field, but I don't talk to you anywhere else. So y'all have a good one. Thanks.
Thank you, Larry. Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you.
guys.
Larry, Dennis had a question, if you wouldn't
Okay.
mind hanging for one
Okay.
second.
Yeah, I'm here. It's probably that little chat thing that they tell me that's down that I don't ever Okay.
Dennis, was
Dennis,
it?
go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm, besides being the DNA for my club, I'm also the DNA chair for our ECSA, the
Mhm.
Eastern Ireland Soccer Association, for the group of our clubs around here.
Mhm.
So I was wondering, because I mean, last fall I had 9 DNAs handing out suspensions and stuff. So I just want to know, do you want to be kept informed when we're doing quite a bit? Because since we do a lot more involving 10 clubs at a time, do you just want to be kept in the loop of anything in case something gets appealed or anything?
Yeah, if you've got anything that is, other than the standard stuff, yes, I would love to, because unfortunately, a lot of times y'all don't have a whole lot to really ask DNA until something big happens.
Mhm.
And then you want DNA come help us. We don't, this guy's, we're trying to, suspend this guy, and he's not saying, or I shouldn't say guy, girl, person, this person won't accept it, or we're having a coaching issue. So, and then we get pulled into it at a later stage, and we're like, okay. So if you do have something that comes of some situation that arises because of some misconduct, and I tell people too, referees, I want to hear about the referees. I mean, they have bad days too, but some of them, just, you just want to talk to them, and they just throw up their hand or something. And I want to hear about those too, because they've put us in charge of them. Dad burn it, then we're going to do so, we're going to handle it.
Yeah.
And excuse me. So yeah, I would like to be just a short write-up of something, just in case
Okay.
it gets pursued anywhere down the line. Somebody wants to come back and bark
Yeah.
about it or something.
Okay. And then we adopted a similar format for our disciplinary charge, but there was 2 on there I thought maybe you want to think about.
Okay.
One was physical damage to a field or a club property. Of course, everything comes out because something happened, and
Mhm.
it was at a match where a player kicked over benches, and the benches were damaged. So as a result of that incident, and prior to that, there was nothing in there that they really could be held accountable for. So we included that when we voted to adopt our new disciplinary chart.
Never thought of that, but that makes sense.
Or physical damage to club and property.
Mhm.
I mean, we included a minimum of 4 games plus restitution being paid also.
We couldn't do the restitution, but we could, that would have to be through the club, but
Yeah,
we
yeah.
could definitely do the sit-outs for the
Yeah.
suspension for it.
And the other one we had was an unsportsmanlike conduct one, because that one is like a catch-all for things that are not specific in any of the categories. We had a few instances where a parent would come onto the field, because she didn't agree with something, but she didn't use foul, abusive language. She wasn't yelling. I mean, something like that. So we had that category where it fits some of that behavior where it's, it's not acceptable, but you still need to be held accountable for it. So that's why
Kevin, that's one we did not come up with. And I am glad you thought of that. I can't believe in all the conversations, because we have had that same thing where they've come onto the field, and parents need to know they can't come onto the field whatsoever.
Correct.
Unless somebody's hurt and the referee stops and goes to the coach, and the coach then, along with referee, tells the parent to come onto the field. That's a good one. It's not on there, Kevin.
Yeah, and we did actually suspend somebody for
Mhm.
that reason.
But it's not in writing anywhere.
Not in the
Yeah.
chart. So yeah,
That- That one
yeah.
we definitely need to get that on there somehow, to come up with something along that. So the parents know that they cannot come on the field. Well, coaches can't know they can't come
Yeah.
on the field either.
Yeah, we
I
use
mean,
that too.
so-
The coach went onto the field to address the referee, and
Mhm.
it wasn't
That's
abuse
a
or
very-
anything else, but still for the fact that he went onto the field when he shouldn't. That's why, like I said, there's a reason why some of these things, had to come about. So that's why we created that little.
Yeah, that's a great one that we did not get thought about, but I know it's happened. I can't believe we didn't, and all the things we've come up trying to remember everything. But that's a very good one, and I've got to look at trying to come up with what we need to do on that, how we can get that in there, Kevin.
Yeah. And then just if there could be some way to track some of the disciplines, because, for us, players, they go to different clubs, and that discipline actually travels with them, no matter where they go. So sometimes, unless the clubs are self-monitoring them, it's hard to follow
You
up.
might be able to talk about that. I think that's part of what you're trying to get.
Yeah. So I've been working on a database system per se. One of the topics I'm going to be bringing up with Sync in the next 2 weeks is it possible to implement something? It's something that I mentioned to them before, but the registration system doesn't talk to the match reporting system. So we need to have something that goes in between, right? What would be best is, if it just threw up a flag and then you could see any suspensions that player received. Like even if it's on our end, even if it wasn't club facing an internal system, but those would have to be coded. That would be a pretty substantial undertaking, I think, from that perspective. But what we are doing is creating a database. I have all of Mark's old files that I'm going through, even the paper ones, and just creating that system. And I can just for sake of transparency, that we have this. You can click on see the notes. You can see that they're a player, so on and so forth. So I won't show that for too long, because I'm being recorded and there's people's names on there and stuff. But so that is something that we are taking interest in, because repeat offenders are something that we want to know, and also if they go somewhere else, so on and so forth.
Yeah. Because right now we just keep track. We use different spreadsheets to keep track of everything. So hopefully it's we follow up with clubs and stuff like that. But yeah, as long as something was easier.
It works with coaches too. I mean,
Yeah.
coaches,
We have
when
coaches,
they
the
go-
parents, players.
Yeah, I mean,
Everybody who would be disciplined, we try to keep
Yeah.
track and make sure, just because they leave their current club,
Yeah.
that follows them too. Until
Yeah.
the action is dealt with.
It would be great if it integrated into the kind of registration hub, or Sync HQ, I believe it's called, along with the match reporting, as they're both and they talk to each other, but unfortunately they don't. So
Well, I mean, we're a rec league, so we don't use too much with Sync.
yeah, okay.
But I mean, our referees down here use the arbiter and stuff like that. So
Yeah. But
but yeah, as long as we got
like you, the spreadsheets at the moment are how we're having to do it. Hopefully we can figure out a system that's a bit more all encompassing.
Cool. All right, that's all I got. But yeah, I'll be there this weekend.
Okay. See you guys. Nick, Carrie, Jeffrey, Brian, even you too. See you guys.
All right.
Take care, guys and gals.
Bye.
See y'all.